What's up, guys? Curtis Riggleman here. I'm gonna tell you guys another story about Chris today. Young Chris, we called him, because he looked like he never aged. And if you saw the first video where I talked about Chris, just to give you a quick briefing, Chris is 6'2", 240, shredded, and is mean as hell. Chris loves the fucking fight, and he is the scariest dude I've ever been around. And he had no fear. I'll tell you some more Chris stories down the road, but this guy had no fear of anything. So Chris and I and my partner Dustin were riding our sport bikes. This is back in maybe 2004-ish, something like that. This is when sport bikes were really, really big. When you saw a lot of stunners down the road, when they had the stunning circuits, and Biker Boys, the movie just came out, which that movie is based on a club here in Fresno as well. But so we're riding our motorcycles down Shields Avenue, and there was a group of us that had these sport bikes back then. And out of the group of us, I was the stunner guy. I used to ride wheelies down the freeway 130 miles an hour. I used to ride on the front wheel. I used to do all that stupid shit, right? And we're coming up to a stop sign, or a stop light, I should say. And I decided to do a stoppie, which is on a bike, they would call it an endo. It's where you ride on the front wheel. Now, when you do that, you're hitting the brakes really hard. You're hitting the brakes hard enough to pop the back end up, and then you're riding the front brake the whole time to keep the ass end of the bike in the air. So if you were directly behind me and I did that, you're gonna have to hit your brakes pretty quickly, because I'm stopping very fast. But we're coming up to a stoplight anyway, so I do it about an eighth of a mile before the stoplight. I pop it up on its front wheel, and I'm riding the front wheel. Now Chris is all the way in the front, and Dustin is directly in front of me. I'm in the one in the back. So as I'm doing this stopping, we come to the stoplight, and then my back wheel hits the ground and we stop. I start hearing a bunch of commotion. I'm the one furthest in the back. I'm hearing a bunch of hollering and screaming and shit, but I have my helmet on, so you can't hear it real clear. So I turn around to see what the hell's going on, and there's a Suburban right behind me, and it has 6 big ass black dudes in it that are pissed off. Apparently they were right behind me when I was doing this stoppie, and I'm guessing they had to slam on the brakes or something. Well, there's a outdoor basketball court literally right down the road, and you could tell they're going there because they all got their shirts off. They all look like basketball players, and 4 of them are literally hanging out the windows, screaming at me, throwing up, flipping me off and whatever, but just raising a lot of commotion. I'm not thinking about these guys at all right now. The only fucking thing I am thinking about is, please don't let Chris hear this. Please don't let Chris hear this. Because if Chris hears this, there's no talking our way out of it. I mean, Chris don't give a shit if there's 6, if there's 12, it makes no difference to him. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, shut the fuck up, quiet down. Well, nope. All of a sudden I see Chris's head turn around. He sees the commotion. The light is red. Chris fucking burns out, runs the light, swings over on the side of the road, hops off his bike, flips his helmet off, and is standing in the middle of the street. And I'm going, motherfucker, man, here we go. I look at Dustin, I'm like, what are we gonna do? And he's like, just grab your helmet and start hitting him with your helmet, right? Now I know Chris could probably take out 3, 4, maybe even all 6 of these guys. But there's a chance I'm gonna have to fight one, and I don't even want to fight one of these motherfuckers. These guys are 6'2" to 6'4", 230, 240, just ripped, all of them. And I'm nervous. I'm like, shit. The light turns green. Dustin and I cross the street. These guys pull right up beside us, and they go, meet us at the park, meet us at the park. And they take off. Well, Chris jumps on his bike, and he's right on their ass. I mean, he's like taunting them. He's like acting like he's ramming the fucking Suburban. They pull up to where the park is. They pull into the driveway of the park, and they all jump out the car. And there's 6 of them, and they're all big and yoked, and I don't even want to fight one of them. Chris swings over on the right side of the road. He jumps off, throws his helmet down, and he's crossing the street. Me and Dustin are not even there yet. Chris is going to start slinging them with all 6 of them before we even are there. We pull over, we jump off the bike, grab my helmet in my hand, thinking I'm usually the sensible one that could talk our way out of this shit. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Thank God a sheriff pulls around the corner, sees what's going on, and he's pulling up. Chris is on parole, and I start telling Chris, I go, Chris, there's a cop right there, there's a sheriff. Chris is dead in the middle of the street now. They're right on the other side of the street in the driveway, and Chris is looking at them, and he stops and looks at the sheriff. He's looking at them. At this point, the sheriff is parked directly in front of Chris, and Chris is standing here, and he's looking at them, and he's looking at the sheriff, and he literally stands there for 7 or 8 seconds, which feels like fucking eternity. He stands there for 7 or 8 seconds. He looks at the cops. He looks at them. They're still yelling at him. He looks at them, looks at the cops. He's at a crossroads where he's confused right now, where he does not know if he's still going to go over there and take off on these guys, or if he should get on his bike and we should leave this one alone. He's standing there confused. I'm on the other side. I'm still trying to persuade him to come back to the bike. I'm like, Chris, let's just go. Let's just go. You're on parole. We can't do this. Thank God a little piece of rationality hit him, and he just turns to me and he starts walking toward me. And you could tell this is eating him up so bad. We get on our bikes and we ride away. And I'm just going, the one time in my life, thank God those cops showed up when I needed them to. Because that was a scary ass day. I did not want to be a part of that. But that's how Chris was. Chris did not care. It didn't matter how many of them were. It just didn't matter. And anytime you were with him, you had to not only watch your back, but you had to watch everywhere to make sure nobody was out of line. Because if Chris saw it, that was all bad.